Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, my very special guest is Justin Toomey. He is the CEO of SVN Toomey Property Advisors. And Justin founded SVN Toomey Property Advisors in 2019, bringing a national full-service commercial real estate firm to Mobile, Alabama. Since expanding into property management in 2022, this is very fast growth. The company now manages over 903 multifamily units and 30,000 square feet of retail space. Under Justin's leadership, the company achieved a 268% revenue growth. I'll just repeat that number, 268% revenue growth by the end of 2024. And I'm going to have to ask Justin about that. Justin is a licensed real estate broker in 5 states. He's earned national recognition, including the SVN Achievers Award in 2021 through 2024, CoStar Power Broker Award 2019, and being named one of the Bay Magazine's 40 Under 40 in 2025. So welcome, Justin.
Wendy, glad to be here.
I am very happy that you are here. So let us begin at the beginning, where I always begin. Tell us your story. How did you get into commercial real estate? You have a very interesting backstory. How did you get into real estate, and what led to you founding SVN Toomey Property Advisors?
All right. So I got into commercial real estate because my dad owned a real estate company in Mobile. He managed predominantly office space and a little bit of retail. And so when I was 15, I was ready to go to work because I've always just wanted to work. And so he let me start off in the maintenance department, picking up trash along our busiest road in Mobile, Alabama, and unclogging toilets and changing the light bulbs in office space. So that's where I started. I did that for 3 summers in a row. The first summer, again, I was only 15. So one of the maintenance guys had to pick me up from the house, drive me to work, spend all day with him. And that's how it started. And so I knew that I enjoyed it. I always wanted to do it. My dad actually always told me, don't do it because it's a very difficult job, but I'm a hard-headed individual, so I just did not listen. And I'm glad I didn't because I've enjoyed my run since. I got my license when I was 19, my first year of college when I just knocked that out. Got my broker's license when I got out of college in 2011, I guess it was, and started work for him. So I worked for him until 2014, and then he sold his company to a larger regional called Sterling Properties based out of Covington, Louisiana. So I got to work for them for 5 years and expand my knowledge base because, again, my dad did just usually office space. So I knew that market well. But retail and then really just the markets outside of Mobile, I didn't really have that much knowledge of. So I spent 5 years with them learning how they do it. Great company, enjoyed working with them. I learned a ton of information. And then in 2019, I'd always wanted to own my own company. I always assumed it'd be my dad's company. And I'm grateful that it is not. Because again, I would have missed the opportunity of all the learning I got to do at Sterling Property. So 2019 though came around. I was like, you know what? I think it's time. I had done enough work, I had learned enough, and I had worked hard enough to be able to afford to open my own business. I heard a joke one time, the best way to lose money as a broker is to start your own company. And they're not wrong. They are not wrong at all. That is a fantastic way to drop your income or your profit first year. And so that's what happened. I dropped it pretty significantly that first year, 2020. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Okay. Well, 2020 was a bad year for just about everybody. So I would not beat myself up too much about that. So,
It was awful.
yeah. So I want to ask you something. You alluded to that. You said your dad told you not to go into commercial real estate because it was too hard. And I was looking at your LinkedIn profile earlier this morning, and I saw that you had a post. I'm just going to read part of it. You said, "This industry isn't for everyone. It challenges you, pushes you, and makes you earn every win. But if you stick with it, put in the work, and keep showing up, it becomes the best job in the world." And I'm wondering if you can expound on that a little bit.
Well, if you got to work your tail off for every single win because they are so difficult to come by. And in commercial real estate, it's even more difficult than residential because it takes so long. I've worked a deal and it was a 7-year process to finally get it done. It was a land deal. It actually closed last October, so just a few months ago. But that payoff was extreme. It was amazing. So working that hard for a payoff like that is awesome. But the amount of no's, the amount of negative, the amount of letdowns you have to go through to get to some of those wins, I just found most people aren't built to handle it because it can be very depressing. Honestly, I spent the first probably 4 years in the business depressed most of the time because I had these expectations, which are a terrible thing to have. I don't recommend expectations at all, but I hadn't. And so every day was more of a letdown. It's like, man, I thought I was going to get out and I was going to be able to do this and this and this. I did not realize how difficult it was going to be. And I did not realize how little college was going to prepare me for really anything after the fact. So if you can work with those negatives, be okay with it, understand that expectations are meaningless, and not give up, when you get to those wins on the other side, it is unreal. And then you can do it anywhere you want to be. You can go anywhere you want to go. You can work whenever you want to work. The caveat is, though, you got to work all the time. That's what most of the newer advisors that I meet with don't seem to understand, is that it's not a 40-hour-a-week job. It really isn't. It's got a 60-hour-a-week job if you're lucky. But it doesn't have to be. If you want to be mediocre, then you can work 40 hours a week in commercial real estate. You'll be all right. You might, I just don't know why you'd want to do that, though. If you're going to be mediocre, and you might as well go do something else and make the same amount of money with probably 1,000% less stress.
Okay. So I'm curious, what would be your advice? Because certainly I know the commercial real estate world, I know that your sales cycle is very long. You mentioned a 7-year deal. And that's probably not the average, but the average is usually like a few years.
Yeah.
And so what would be your advice to someone that is thinking about starting their own business, whether it's in commercial real estate or maybe some other kind of business? What would be your advice to them, the do's and the don'ts?
The do's for starting your own business would be, just be okay with the letdowns. Don't worry about them. They're going to come. Keep moving forward. It really doesn't matter when you get the no's, and really it's kind of changing your attitude with the no's, because every time we get a no or a deal dies or whatever the case may be, you lose a client for whatever reason, I try to change the attitude like, all right, awesome. I don't have to worry about whatever time suck that was going to be. Now I get to focus on whatever opportunity is coming next, because they will come. But it's really working harder than everyone else around you. If you're willing to work harder than everyone else around you, and most people that are interested in starting their own business, I've found in my limited experience, they're already doing that anyway. They are already exceeding the expectations of those around them. They're already working harder than their counterparties. So if you're already in that boat and you've got the drive to get up every morning, whether you want to or not, and go to work, you probably will be all right. It's kind of like the gym. I go to the gym every morning. I get up at 5 and go. Do I want to go to the gym every morning at 5 a.m.? The answer is absolutely not. No. But it doesn't matter what I want to do. I know that if I want to achieve the results in the gym or at work, I do it anyway. And so creating those disciplines, however you need to create them, to just do it when you don't actually want to do it, will probably put you in a pretty good spot to succeed.
Okay. And what about some don'ts? You gave us some really good do's for those the potential business owners out there. What about the don't do this ever?
Man, that got a lot of, don't be afraid, I guess, to fail. It's, that's a tough one. I had messed up so many things owning my own business or really just in brokerage. I can't even, it's so numerous. I can't really narrow them down. But don't expect to work 40 hours a week. Don't think you can do it all. That's, you know what? When I first started my company, I didn't have enough money to hire the people around me that I needed to hire around me. So I had to do it all. So I was doing the work that an administrative assistant should be doing, all the way up to the work I'm supposed to be doing. And so that was a struggle. But unfortunately, without the funds, I had to, because I didn't take out any loans to do it. I just had to do that until I got to the point where I could little by little add in more people. But I realized that I am not an expert in almost anything that happens in my company. I've got experts around me, which make me successful. And so thinking that I could do it all was irrational and a figment of my imagination. It was not worth the struggle I went through. And so not trying to do it all is probably the best don't that I can come up with at this point.
That's a good don't. I know that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do think that they have to do it all. And as a matter of fact, when I started my business, which was like 25 years ago, some advice I was given was that I should learn to do everything. And I tried it first, and then I realized that was kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And so I am with you, virtual gold star for you, Justin Toomey. I think that's great advice. So I'm curious then, how did you go, if you started your company in 2019, that was not all that long ago, and you had a 268% revenue growth. So I guess you were starting from zero, I assume. So how did you, that's 6 years? How did you do that?
So I think that 268% is just for that 1 year. We've averaged 100% revenue growth roughly every year since 2020, our first year in business. 2020 was a very terrible year because my brokerage practice was retail tenant representation. And no retailers were doing much of anything in 2020. So that was a very, very difficult year for me. Luckily, I was able to, after the fact, get a loan from the government, one of those EIDL loans. And that's really the only reason we're having this conversation now, because my business they're just in the toilet. But despite that miserable year, I showed up every day. Even during the pandemic, I showed up every day. I did the best that I could every day. I learned all the hard lessons that you could learn every step of the way. I tried everything there is to try and messed up almost everything there is to mess up. But I learned from those mistakes. And so each year, taking the mistakes that we learned from and then adding on to them every year enabled us to expand the markets that we serve, expand the products that the services that we offer. And then the latest bit was adding in the multifamily management and then retail management. That helped us to increase our revenue every single year. And this year, I don't expect it to be any different. It should be another year where we increase our revenue over last year's, because I'm not interested in really doing anything other than that. Again, we're 5.5 years in, so I got a long way to go. And I don't want any more down years like 2020. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that we stay in the black and continue to improve our services.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want another year like 2020.
Yeah, absolutely not. Terror.
Yeah, but wasn't it Woody Allen that said 80% of success is showing up?
I have no idea, but that's a very good point if it is what he said, because I tell my advisors a lot of times and all the employees, if you answer the phone when someone calls you, or at minimum, return their phone call within that same day, you're doing better than probably 80 or 90% of your competitors. That's all you got to do is return the phone call if you've missed it.
Absolutely. So I was very intrigued by something that you wrote in preparation for this interview. I asked you some questions. And speaking about your advisors, your team, I asked you what drives you crazy about managing a team. And you said the lack of control over 1099 contractors. I thought that was really interesting. So, my first question is, what is the difference in your mind, other than the paperwork, between having an employee and having a 1099 contractor? What do you see as the difference?
Well, the employee is a paying W-2 employee by me. And so because of that, I can tell them where to be, what to do, how to do it. A contractor, an independent contractor, I learned this when I first started. I can't even buy them a computer. Per the IRS codes, that's improper. They are their own company of one, and they drive their own boat. And so without that control, even having a sales meeting with independent contractors, I cannot require them to be there. The most that I can do is if I have deals coming into my shop, and I do, I can choose who to give those deals to. And if they're not showing up, well, then they're not going to be on the list to get those deals. But other than that, I cannot tell them what to do or don't do. I can choose to have them employed or hold their license with me. And if they're not following the rules and regulations and the laws, well, then I send their license back and they no longer work for me or work with me, I guess is a better way to say it if they're an independent contractor. But those independent contractors are, again, they're their own company. And so I've got to treat them as such.
Okay. So then piggybacking on that, another question that I asked you was, to please share some things that you and your team are currently working on. And your answer was communication, drive and dedication, consistency. So if you have all 1099 independent contractors, and having worked with people in the commercial real estate industry for 25 years, I know that it is often like herding cats. So how do you work on communication, drive, and dedication, and most importantly, consistency when you're herding cats?
It's a tough question. We do the best we can. So part of the first little line of defense we started implementing was sharing our calendar so that we could all see what we have going on, so that if there is a sales meeting, say, and one of the advisors isn't there, I can see why they're not there. Hopefully there's a good excuse why they're not there. So that was the first bit to improve the communication, just so we don't, when there's so many things going on every day, it's very easy to forget why someone emailed me they're not going to be there, or to just forget to even remind someone to be there. So if we've got the calendar invites, we have the shared calendars, I don't have to worry about that memory issue. It's in writing, it's on paper, I can see it. And so that was the first thing. And then the sales meeting are that second piece of the puzzle where we try to create the consistency of coming to the office, communicating together, working as a team. But even that's difficult because I'm not perfect. I cannot always make it. I've got a schedule that sometimes is a million things an hour to do, so I can't always be there. I've got other obligations, and so it makes it difficult to do that on a consistent basis. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but that kind of goes back to that earlier piece we talked about, not trying to do everything as a business owner. One of the pieces of the puzzle that I would like to get in the near future would be a sales manager, and their sole job would be running the sales meeting, communicating with the team, ensuring they've got what they need, the resources, all that good stuff. Because again, I'm trying to run a company. And so that's the consistency, creating it. Again, it's a trial and error. It is a constant battle. I don't think I will ever have it solved. If I meet somebody that does have it solved, I'm going to take a lot of notes, but I'm not sure I've met anyone yet that's got that thing figured out. I've heard some ideas is having, lunch and learns or providing food. Like, hey, here's some food. Why don't you come here? Again, like herding a cat, like here's some cat food. Why don't you come join me for this little sales meeting we got? But I hadn't done that yet because normally they show up. But man, that's a tough one. That really is difficult to get on to, I guess, commit to coming to the office on a regular basis.
Is there any way that you encourage collaboration among your team members with various deals that people are working on? Or do they all each one's doing their own deal and that's what it is? Or everyone's trying to work together?
Yep. We actually do a lot of teamwork in here. So there's very few deals that one individual advisor is working on exclusively. 90% of the time, it's at least two people working on it together, which again helps because if I've got two people working on a deal, usually at least one will be in the office that day and then we can get an update from them instead of having a call. So we do a lot of teamwork and it works best for them as well because it's been my experience. If I've got a team, I can get more work to them. I can do more deals because not everything's depending on me to get all the minutia done. I've got a team. We can work together on it. And so they have luckily enjoyed that, taken hold of that, and they have kind of run with it. New deals come in and then they just on their own accord bring somebody in to help them with the deal. So I'm glad that is how that works.
Okay. So I'm curious, as you were growing your company, I know you started out, it was just you and you were doing everything. As you grew and as you brought people on, did you tend to, and I'm talking about your advisors, not necessarily the support staff, but did you tend to hire someone like a senior broker that had experience in the industry and maybe came to you with a book of business, or did you tend to hire someone new to the industry and train them? Like, what was your inclination? What did you do?
One that I hired, with the exception of one individual, was new to business. They had no experience, no nothing, no book of business. And I did that for maybe two reasons. One, they seem to be the most coachable because I've got a certain way I like to do business, and it is, in my opinion, the right way to do it. And like what, your entire business model, it includes the cold calling. That's the reason I own my own company is cold calling. And so I've found a lot of the senior folks, at least in my little market, I don't know if they do that as much anymore because maybe they've got all the business they need. I'm not sure, but I don't. I don't have all the business I need just yet. I'm not sure I ever will. So I didn't really want that. And then it's tough to find change is difficult. No one really likes change. And so trying to take a senior advisor away from another brokerage house is difficult. It really is. And so it just was a time consuming process. And again, kind of like that, needing a sales manager role. I don't have infinite amount of hours in the day to go hunting and searching and finding and cold calling on brokers in addition to running a company. I mean, there's just not enough hours in the day.
That is true. That is very true. So this has been such a great conversation, Justin. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, check us out on our website. Or really the best way is just follow me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm on there pretty regularly now because, again, I'm always learning, and they tell me that I got to be out there in the social networking world if I want to continue to grow my business. So I'm always on there.
Okay. Well, that's how you and I met. And so if you want to connect with Justin, as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, the link to Justin's website is in the show notes. Go to the show notes, click on the link, If you want to connect with Justin on LinkedIn, well, as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes. Justin's LinkedIn profile is in there. Click on the link, connect with Justin. You'll be glad you did. And I have so enjoyed our conversation today, Justin. Will you put your hand over your heart and promise me you'll come back again and we can keep talking?
Absolutely. Love to do it anytime.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you to all of our listeners. You have been listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my special guest, Justin Toomey, who is the CEO of SVN Toomey Property Advisors. And if you found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business owner, one sales leader, one entrepreneur, somebody that you think might also find value in listening to the podcast, and please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.